This is the QTV Nightly News, and I'm Jacqueline Collier. Thank you for joining us, and a reminder that you can also join us on Q Radio 103.3 FM. Here are the headlines. President Adama Barrow arrived in Nigeria on Friday to pay his respects to the family and the Nigerian people following the passing of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. In a solemn ceremony on Friday, Cuban medical brigade doctors in the Gambia commemorated the 72nd anniversary of the assault on the Moncada Barracks Cuban National Rebellion Day in honor of Fidel Castro's revolutionary legacy. Gambian journalist Sankole Janko was on Friday awarded the Best Radio Journalist of 2025 at the maiden edition of the ECOWAS Excellence Awards for Journalists. In international news, in Senegal, the historic coastal city of Saint Louis is facing an existential threat due to climate change. The former capital of French West Africa and a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site is witnessing rapid coastal erosion, increased floods, and rising sea levels. Those were headlines, now the news in detail. Thank you for staying with us. Now, President Adama Barrow arrived in Nigeria on Friday. We apologize for that. Now, President Adama Barrow arrived in Nigeria on Friday to pay his respects following the passing of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. More in this report by Ade Darami.
Upon his arrival at the Umaru Yar'Adua Airport in Katsina, President Barrow was welcomed with a ceremonial guard of honor. He was received by the Secretary to the Katsina State Government, Barrister Abdullahi Garba Faskari, and proceeded to Daura, the late President Buhari's hometown. At the Buhari family residence, President Barrow and the First Lady Fatoumata Bah Barrow were welcomed by former First Lady Aisha Buhari and her family. In a heartfelt tribute, President Barrow described the late President Buhari as a colleague, a brother and a friend who fought tirelessly for democracy in Africa and the Gambia. He recalled ex-President Buhari's decisive support during Gambia's 2016 political crisis, when the ex-president had boldly declared, "If Jammeh wants to challenge the sub-region, he is welcome." At the Buhari home, on behalf of the family, the ex-president's eldest son, Yusuf Buhari, thanked President Barrow, saying the visit reflected how deeply their father's legacy touched lives beyond Nigeria's borders. The delegation later visited the graveside, where prayers were offered for the late statesman's eternal rest. The Minister for Religious Affairs, Hamad N.K. Bah, echoed President Barrow's sentiments, praising Buhari's enduring commitment to democracy and African unity. During the brief visit, President Barrow and the First Lady also made a courtesy call on Nigerian President Bola Tinubu and First Lady Oluremi Tinubu. The late President Muhammadu Buhari, a towering figure in West African politics, passed away on July the 13th in London and was laid to rest in Daura on July the 15th. For QTV News, I am Ade Darami.
In a solemn ceremony on Friday, Cuban medical brigade doctors in the Gambia commemorated the 72nd anniversary of the assault on the Moncada Barracks Cuban National Rebellion Day in honor of Fidel Castro's revolutionary legacy. The event took place at the medical school complex of the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in Banjul. Usman Jata tells us more.
On July 26, 1953, Fidel Castro led a daring assault on the Moncada barracks in Santiago de Cuba, igniting the spark of the Cuban Revolution. Though not a military success, it marked the beginning of Cuba's historic fight against dictatorship and laid the foundation for a sovereign and unified nation.
Podré contar el movimiento revolucionario en cualquier rincón de la tierra.
The day commemorates not just a battle, but the birth of a movement fueled by courage, conviction, and a refusal to accept oppression. Fidel Castro's journey symbolized the resilient and firm spirit of the Cuban people. The event in Banjul began with the Cuban national anthem and a short documentary on the rebellion. Attending the ceremony was Cuban Ambassador Carmelina Ramirez Rodriguez, alongside medical professionals and Gambian officials.
We will continue fighting for our sovereignty. We will continue fighting for our freedom. We will continue fighting for the success of the Cuban Revolution. The biggest values of the Cuban Revolution is the health and education.
In a series of readings, Cuban doctors shared powerful quotes on freedom, revolution, and national pride, emphasizing the values that have guided their international missions. Gambia and Cuba enjoy over 4 decades of diplomatic cooperation, particularly in healthcare and education. Cuba continues to send doctors and offer scholarships to Gambian students in technical and medical fields. Speaking at the event, Petroleum and Energy Minister Nani Juara and Bernard J. Mendy, the Director of American and Caribbean Affairs, both acknowledged Cuba's global challenges and reaffirmed the Gambia's unwavering solidarity with the Cuban people.
As two sister countries with similar cultures, similar values, we are grateful for the humanitarian support that we continue to receive from Cuba. We are in this together.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will always be with you, and the government of the Gambia will always be behind you.
Cuba's historical influence in Africa, especially during the Cold War, extended beyond military support to liberation movements, to cultural and artistic exchanges that helped shape African music and identity. In the Gambia, that partnership led to the founding of the country's first medical school in 1998. Dr. Mustafa Bitte, Chief Medical Director at EFSTH, and Modu Drant, President of the Gambia-Cuban Friendship Association, both praised the Cuban Brigade's continued role in strengthening the country's healthcare system.
The Cuban Medical Brigade in the Gambia, as we can see, is here to save lives. It's here to give Gambian children education to become doctors. So we appreciate you, and we will stand by you wherever and wherever.
They are a team that have integrated themselves. They want to support the country. And they live like Gambians. You know, they are not saying, oh, this is where I should be, and Gambians here. So we really appreciate that we are one family.
Among the dedicated professionals is Dr. Irma Font, currently serving at Bundung Maternal Hospital.
I am very happy to be here in the Gambia for more than 4 years. I always said that the Gambia, for me, is my second university, because here I learned a lot. 2021
marked a turning point in Cuban politics as Raúl Castro stepped down, ending 6 decades of the Castro family's leadership in the Communist Party. For many, July 26 is not just a date, it is a symbol of revolutionary pride, sacrifice, and Cuba's enduring contributions to global development and solidarity against the odds, particularly the unending bullying of its larger neighbor, the USA. Cuba survives and is an inspiration to nations across the globe. Osman Jata, QTV News.
Now, Gambian journalist Sankule Janko was on Friday awarded the Best Radio Journalist of 2025 at the median edition of the ECOWAS Excellence Awards for Journalists. The event, hosted in the Gambia, was attended by media personnel, diplomats, and government representatives from across West Africa. And Sumane Sonyasi tells us more.
The maiden ECOWAS Excellence Award for Journalists represents a major milestone in regional efforts to recognize and elevate the role of the media in West Africa. It also seeks to acknowledge the outstanding contribution of journalists in fostering regional dialogue and safeguarding democracy. Speaking at the event, ECOWAS resident representative in the Gambia, Miata Lili French, extended heartfelt appreciation to the government and people of the Gambia for their generous hospitality and unwavering commitment to regional solidarity, good governance and democratic values, adding that the Gambia's support in hosting the event is symbolic of the shared vision for West Africa. Her remarks were echoed by Abdou Koli, Director of Cabinet at the ECOWAS Commission, who equally underscored the indispensable role of the media in a region navigating rapid change, political transitions and pressing development challenges.
The response to this first edition has been nothing short of inspiring. We received over 200 compelling entries from across our 12 member states. Each one of these entries is a testament to the courage, creativity and tenacity of West African journalists.
In a region as diverse as ours, the media fosters understanding, bridges divides, and advances the ideals of good governance and transparency.
Kodu L. Jabang Senghor, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Information, highlighted the growing importance of cross-border media collaboration in consolidating democratic values and how a free press and responsible journalism are essential pillars for strengthening integration in West Africa. On behalf of the Gambian media, GPU President Aissatou Keita conveyed the Gambian media community's appreciation to the ECOWAS Commission for its leadership and vision in launching the Journalism Excellence Award.
I wish to enjoin media practitioners in ECOWAS to give attention to issues that directly help integration and tolerance so that your work will have relevance.
This award truly matters. It goes beyond recognition. It is an affirmation of journalism's role as a cornerstone of the democracy and a catalyst to regional development.
Following the speeches, Abdoulaye Gassama, chairperson of the 7-member jury, gave a presentation on the awardee selection process. This was then followed by the announcement of various categories, including broadcast TV, radio and print. However, in what was the main highlight of the night for Gambian media, Sankule Janko, a Gambian journalist who works with West Africa Democracy Radio as a reporter and host of current affairs development programs, emerged winner in the radio category. Receiving the ECOWAS Best Radio Journalist Award 2025, Janko expressed gratitude for the honor, dedicating the award to his mother, Gambian media and colleagues across the region who continue to work under difficult conditions to inform, educate and inspire.
I remember the story I did, we went to the hinterlands of the Gambia, and it was very helpful. These stories were impactful. For me, I'm grateful to ECOWAS for the fact that they have given the opportunity for people to recognize the job that journalists are doing.
The ECOWAS Excellence Awards for Journalists was launched this year to recognize exceptional contributions in governance, media, civil society and peace building across the 15-member bloc. Ansmane Sonyase for KTV News.
Hats off, Sankule. We'll now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have some more national and international stories. Do stay tuned and join us after the break.
At Ajib Bank, we are more than banking. We build bridges that connect you to pivotal services every day. Do you have government bills to pay to the Gambia Revenue Authority, Comfort, KMC, or the Accountant General's Department? We've got you covered. From payment of customs and domestic taxes to GRA, payment of number plate and vehicle ownership transfer to Comfort, payment of property rates and business license fee to KMC, and payment of MR passport, business registration, fishing license, land fees, sale of assets, lease application, development permits, quarrying royalties, gravel and sand, mining royalties, and a host of other revenue lines to the Accountant General's Department. Walk into any of our branches nationwide and make your payments hassle-free. Either in person or online. Simple, secure, and immediate. With Ajib Bank, there is no need to worry about government bill payments for your vehicles, taxes, licenses, business registration, and any other revenue line. Ajib Bank, passionate about your investment. We've got you covered. Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
Fii mooy fan fii mooy Inessa di place bi nga xam ne moom la ñëpp taaw place bii bépp xeetu ataaya bu baax rek bu dugg see ci dëkk bi xamal li fii rek la am bara warga bii neex na lool saf na ba pare tamit nag am gu bu neex boo ko naanee rek da ngay kontaan ci saas añ ba suur ba gëreesal li nga lekk jëndal baara ataaya bii ndax moom la ñëpp taamu gis nga sama client bii ataaya bu neex bu ne moom laa koy njëkk a jox ndax moom kat ataaya bu neex rek lay wër baara warga bii mooy warga bi gën te moo gën a saf kon nag ràññee leen ko bu baax kon daw leen gaaw ca Banjul foofu ca Inessa di place bi nga xam ni foofu rek nga ko mën a amee wholesale wala retail mu ngi foofu ci boori court house bi foofu ca Banjul wala nga daw ci bépp marché bépp supermarket bépp bitik fépp foo dugg rek di nga mën a am baara warga bii nga xam ne moom la ñëpp di wër tey baara warga moo dàq ci warga yi man maa ngi ci moom ndax su ma maree ataaya moom rek lay naan.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the QTV News, and I'm Jacqueline Coley. Now on Saturday, the Board of Directors of the National Water and Electricity Companies Cooperative Credit Union held its annual general meeting under the theme Strengthening Compliance, Innovation and Growth for a Sustainable Credit Union Movement. Ma'am Nabuka witnessed the event, and this is our report.
The event gathered board members, stakeholders and NAWEC staff to review the year-end activities of the credit union and assess its effectiveness in providing financial assistance, stability, and sustainability for its members. The NAWEC Cooperative Credit Union, established in 1999, is a member-owned financial institution that serves the staff of the National Water and Electricity Company. It assists in providing financial services like savings accounts and loans, operating on a cooperative model where profits are returned to members through benefits like lower interest rates on loans, higher savings rates, and dividend sharing. This annual general meeting, covering the operational period from December 31st, 2023 to December 31st, 2024, offers the Board of Directors a chance to present and review the credit union's financial reports from the past year to its members. Additionally, to promote transparency and accountability, it provides a platform for members to express their views, share opinions, and ask questions regarding the management of their funds and the financial decisions being made on their behalf. Here is Tijan Mane, the chairman of the NAWEC Credit Union, and Gallo Seidi, NAWEC's managing director.
We gathered here not to only reflect on the past year's progress, but also to reaffirm our shared mission to build a vibrant, ethical, and forward-thinking credit union movement.
As Managing Director, I commend the critical role your union continues to play in the financially empowering the staff of NAWEC. To all members, I urge you to remain actively engaged and continue reinforcing the trust and solidarity that power this movement.
Over the past year, the union experienced an 8% increase in total assets, indicating strong financial health. Membership grew by 8.4%, demonstrating a rising confidence in their services. The union also settled the loans of 8 deceased members totaling $826,000 and refunded $764,000 in savings to their families. Additionally, equity saw an impressive increase of 14%, along with a significant rise in income of 12.2%. Jere Toure, the treasurer of the union, explained that despite the increase in various expenses, the union closed the year strong.
Overall, the NAWEC Credit Union has shown significant growth in both income and surplus for the year 2024. The increase in net interest income and other income streams, along with better credit management, has contributed to a high net operating income.
The event wrapped up with the election of 3 new board members and the presentation of gifts to several of the union's board members in recognition of their hard work and contributions over the years. Additionally, it was announced that a new mobile app for the credit union has been launched, allowing for easier access to services, especially for those stationed in the provinces who often need to take a ferry to have their needs met. Mam Nabuka, reporting for QTV News.
Up next is International News Tuesday. Now in Senegal, a historic coastal city is facing an existential threat due to climate change. The former capital of French West Africa and a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site is witnessing rapid coastal erosion, increased floods and rising sea levels. Interventions are being made, but as CGTN's David report, very few of these interventions are having an impact.
For more than 300 years, this coastal town in northwest Senegal has carved its place in history. The French, when they began to dominate North Africa during the 19th century, made it the capital of French West Africa, a vast region which encompassed today's Senegal, Chad, Mali, Guinea and Côte d'Ivoire. They named it Saint Louis, after the king at the time. Today, however, it's at risk of losing more than its historical identity.
The advancing sea is a national phenomenon here in Senegal, not to say a universal one, because it's not just in Senegal that the phenomenon has been observed. For those of us who live on the Langue de Barbarie, who were born here, grew up here, and who have lived here for over 50 years, we have witnessed the devastation caused by the advancing sea.
Here in this neighborhood by the ocean, houses are breaking up, while others are being emptied. One of the affected victims was rehoused through a World Bank-sponsored initiative, but says they are struggling to access other essential services.
We still have a lot of things left. We don't have enough space. We don't have a normal mosque. Access to health facilities is also a problem, as is transport. Last night we had a sick person, but we had problems getting him to hospital. Even getting medicines from the pharmacy is difficult.
At the state level, the government has set up protective dikes to try and push back the sea, and some families have also been relocated further inland. The displaced, however, say they go from one problem to another.
We came here in July 2019. I think we can see a family of more than 15 people living in a house with 2 or 3 bedrooms. But since then, we've had huge problems living together. There are people renting their houses here, and we are forbidden to sell in the street. We can't have any business because we are so far from the sea, and we used to go there every morning.
The encroaching sea has not spared colonial-era buildings, traditional houses and schools, threatening the city's rich cultural heritage. In 2008, UN Habitat designated St. Louis as the city most threatened by rising sea levels in the whole of Africa, citing climate change and a failed 2004 river and tidal canal project as the cause. Since then, local interventions have had limited impact against the formidable force of the advancing sea. David Mbidi, CGTN.
That's all for this edition of QTV Headline News, but before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. President Barrow arrived in Nigeria on Friday to pay his respects to the family and the Nigerian people following the passing of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. In a solemn ceremony on Friday, Cuban Medical Brigade doctors in the Gambia commemorated the 72nd anniversary of the assault on the Moncada Barracks Cuban National Rebellion Day in honor of Fidel Castro's revolutionary legacy. Gambian journalist Sankule Janko was on Friday awarded the Best Radio Journalist of 2025 at the maiden edition of the ECOWAS Excellence Awards for Journalists. In international news, in Senegal, the historic coastal city of Saint Louis is facing an existential threat due to climate change. The former capital of French West Africa and a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site is witnessing rapid coastal erosion, increased floods and rising sea levels. And a very important message from one of our sister companies, QCell, is bringing the vibes with unlimited free calls to any QCell number all day long on Sundays. No fees, no setup, just pure, non-stop talk time. That's all for this news bulletin. Join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the Weekend Review with Ade Darame, Mamoudou Gajaga, and Lamindi Sonko doing the sign language interpretation. Thanks for watching. Bye.